Hello, friends. I am out here on my morning walk, and I am getting ready to respond to Nikki's last voice memo that she sent me yesterday. And before I do, I thought I better hop on here and informally introduce this podcast because it does not really have a good intro. Yeah, there's some really good nuggets in Nikki and I's conversation that we've been having the last week or so. However, it is kind of all over the place. And so I actually have been struggling about how to put this one out there because it doesn't really flow together too well. But I think what I'm going to do is just start with Nikki. She sent a really good nugget to me. And I'm going to start with that, and then I'm going to answer that because that's what was my plan this morning. And then I think I'm just going to probably clip the good nuggets, and it might be a little all over the place, and so I apologize for that. But basically what we've been talking about is atmosphere and how important it is that we surround ourselves with good things and good people so that we don't limit our growth, so that we don't get distracted on our path to Christ. And Nikki here immediately is going to be talking about voice boxes and negative voice boxes and how if we listen to those and we internalize them and we are not careful about our thought life and what we're speaking out into the atmosphere, it can really put us into a toxic environment that we're not able to grow in. And we can do it to ourselves by allowing these voice boxes to dictate our identity. And so that's something we've been talking about. And so this one might be for those who are kind of struggling to keep your thoughts more positive. Maybe you have some negative people around you whispering in your ear negative things about yourself or what you can do or what you can accomplish or trying to bring you down. Unfortunately, sometimes that can be a part of the faith walk and just kind of battling with how to navigate through this space of just feeling overwhelmed by negative thoughts. Maybe you're not speaking as positively as you know you need to be. It is so important, the words we put out into the atmosphere. Nikki's going to talk about that. And yeah, I decided I'm just going to take all the pieces. We're going to do this one. It might be a little all over the place, but I think it's worth putting out there. So yeah, I'm going to hand this over to Nikki. She's going to talk about the voice box, and then I'm going to respond to that. And probably after this, I'm just going to take all the pieces that we have, put them together, and voila, it's going to be an episode. Maybe 2 parts. I don't know. We'll see how long it gets.
When I say the voice box, I mean anybody who has a voice and uses it. It can be used for good or bad. We all know that with the words and with our mouth, it has the power of life and death. And Satan will use certain people to come tell you something. Usually this happens after you have been working on renewing your mind. You yourself stopping the bad negative thoughts from flooding your mind, rehearsing who you are in Christ, or saying, no, that is not me. He will send a different agent. Okay. Well, if I can't get her through her mind, I'm going to send somebody so that it can be spoken over her. And then he sends somebody. And even though you may not agree to what it is they are saying, it can still affect you. And the reason this happens so many times is because the words generate emotions. Words can instantly create fear, hope, shame, confidence, anxiety, or comfort. You ever notice when you listen to a motivational speaker, you really do get motivated, and it can change your life. You can walk out of a service or whatever, a conference, and be so motivated that for the first time you will start that job. You will start that diet. It created a whole new perspective. Words influence us. It influences your mind, your nervous system. It's positive, reassuring words. It can lower the tension that you were feeling in your life, but threatening, catastrophic words can raise stress, fear, anxiety. You can actually come in agreement with what somebody else is saying over you without even realizing it. It can have an effect. and I've experienced this, even if I don't come in agreement and I don't agree with it, you planted something in me. It's there and it can irritate me and agitate me. And that right there, it can cause something. It can cause something in the body. The brain interprets words as meaning and signals. I've been learning a lot about the mind and the nervous system. And God has been showing me a lot through this. Also words. I'm going back to words. I studied this in my 20s. I haven't studied it in a long time. But self-talk becomes your inner environment. We want to talk about atmospheres. The first atmosphere you deal with is your inner self. The ones that are going on, the words, the war in your mind. But I'm telling you, as soon as you start to get some ground level, Satan sends the voice boxes. Oh, she thinks that she can believe that she's been forgiven and sanctified and renewed. She's a new creation. She's seated in heavenly places. Okay, let me send somebody to throw her off her high horse, and I'll have her grounded and working from anger. All of that will go out the window if I can get her in anger. She will work from there. She will speak from there. Her actions will come from anger. I'll ruin it all. You ever notice that happens? Because it has happened to me. Even when I'm facing anxiety and I do get the courage to stand in faith and leave and do something, then here comes somebody that I never talked to, reminding me of the life I'm trying to leave. Words create beliefs. Repeated words, repeated thoughts, repeated emotions and beliefs. Seriously, beliefs then filter reality. Guys, I deal with agoraphobia. I have believed a lie and it became my reality. Now I know this is a lie. I know that if I leave this house, the only thing that's going to happen negative are the things that I'm thinking about. Half of the things I think about, more than half, don't even happen. And when they do, God is still here helping me. I'm still right here. I made it through. I make it back home. Words create beliefs. Repeated words, repeated thoughts, repeated emotions, beliefs. What do I keep meditating on? What am I rehearsing on? Beliefs filter our reality. Two people can have the same situation. Both of us in the car. One's freaking out, the other one's not. Because different things are going on in each other's mindset. And then the big one. If you think words don't affect identity, you are sadly mistaken. You know those beautiful statements we tell ourselves? I'm weak. I'm anxious. I feel anxiety. I'm scared. I don't feel good. And then the other ones. Oh, I'm strong. I'm healed. I'm healing. I feel great. I'm ready for this. I can do all things. Those two thoughts, different types of thoughts, they are slowly going to become your self-concepts. So be careful what you're meditating on, what you're thinking on. And then when you do get that in check, careful with the voice boxes that are going to try to knock you off and tell you, no, it's not how it is. That's not how you are. Funny, they'll always have something to tell you when you're trying to get better. But when you were down and under, you didn't even hear from them. At least that's my experience. But always remember, here's something that I'm learning. Your brain organizes behavior around the identity you're pulling from. Your brain organizes its behavior from your identity. If you say that I am fearful and I can't leave the house, your brain will organize the behavior to go with that. If I say I am free and I can do anything and I can leave the house when I want, my nervous system's going to say, but nuh-uh, remember the last time? And then you have to renew that. And then once you do, and you do go out, and then Satan sends somebody else. Girl, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. Literally, actual things that have happened to me. Words are powerful because the brain doesn't fully distinguish between what's imagined, what's remembered, or what's a spoken experience. It's crazy. It's kind of like your blood sugar. Your blood sugar doesn't know, did the sugar come from fruit or did it come from a cookie? Your pancreas just knows sugar's in the body. I'm either going to react or not react, depending what illness you're struggling with. It doesn't know that, it doesn't filter it and say, oh yeah, because this sugar came from a fruit, I'm going to act differently. Sorry, doesn't work that way. Same with your thoughts. Anything you keep thinking of, even though the reality hasn't happened, your body can feel it. I can talk myself into a panic attack on something that never happened, but I imagined it. Somebody has told me something that created a panic attack many times. Why would I want to be around somebody who keeps wanting me to stay in fear, doesn't want me to succeed or grow in life, doesn't want me to prosper or have a great quality of life? And that just goes into the next step of like having to forgive all of that. Because Ephesians chapter 4, verse 31 through 32 says, let all bitterness, wrath, anger be put away from you, forgiving one another, even as God in Christ forgave you. That's why. Bitterness here is like described as something that is weighing you down. Forgiveness is the release valve. Let it go. Because unforgiveness binds and forgiveness loosens chains. Not for them, but for your inner freedom. Hence, inner. It all starts from the inside out. Proverbs 4:23, but guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. That's why Satan keeps attacking the heart. He needs you to be in unforgiveness. He needs you to hate people so he can have that foothold, that legal ground that he can stand on. He needs that. He needs you to be in resentment. He needs you to replay it over and over. This is what they did. This is what they sent me. This is what they said. This was their actions towards me. I can't believe it. And it becomes an emotional heaviness. Forgiveness protects your inner life because everything starts from the inner. Colossians 3:13 through 15. Bear with each other and forgive. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. Peace and forgiveness are directly linked. Why? Because resentment keeps wounds emotionally open. We have to close them, guys. Forgiveness breaks the enemy's foothold. 2 Corinthians 2 verses 10 through 11. And you can read the whole thing, but I'm going to stick to the so that Satan will not outwit us. Listen to that again. So that Satan will not outwit us, for we are not unaware of his schemes. I feel like Paul's connecting unforgiveness with giving the enemy an advantage, because unforgiveness fuels division, mental torment, and emotional cycling, which is what I'm learning when it comes to the mind and the nervous system and what it remembers and the patterns. Forgiveness shuts the door. Forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. I talk about this a lot. Forgiveness does not mean you have entrance back into my life. It's just not like that. I was very confused about that. I feel like I'm going to connect it to Romans 12:18. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. As far as it is possible with you, live at peace with everyone. Peace is your responsibility. Reconciliation requires both parties. Because you can forgive someone and still keep boundaries. Limit the access, not restore the trust. Even God forgives, yet consequences remain. Let's not forget that. Proverbs 23:7. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Thoughts are internal reality. Words reinforce thoughts. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. You are the product of your thoughts. Romans 12:2. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. How is the mind renewed? Through truth, reframing, replacing disordered thinking, reframing. That is a key word that has been sticking out to me for the past 3 weeks. And when you're reframing and shutting down all these negative thoughts, I really like Job chapter 22, verse 28. You will also declare a thing and it will be established for you. That's alignment with faith, mindset, and direction. Declaring it and it will be established. I love that. Romans 4:17. God calls the things that are not as though they were. Faith speaks from confidence in God, not from denial of reality. Ephesians 4:29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but what is good for edification. Now you can go on through countless and countless scripture on type of people you need to stay away from. He tells you, stay away from people who lie, who give false accusations, who have lustful eyes. You can go through the Old Testament to the New Testament. It's right there. It is right there. Anything you're searching for is going to be in there. I had said earlier, I couldn't remember, but then I remembered my aunt used to tell me, who just recently passed away, what Bible stood for. Basic instructions before leaving Earth. And I was like, wow. And she says, everything you need is going to be in there. And you won't know unless you open up the Word. Our people are falling, man. They're dying because of the lack of wisdom. The wisdom is in this Word. Our instructions are here. The voice box, the atmosphere. Your atmosphere is your inner thoughts, what you believe about yourself, your identity, the voices you're allowing around you, because they do plant seeds and it can destroy you. The same way a motivational speaker can motivate you to change your life is the same way somebody who is after to ruin you can actually tell you something and you could become in agreement with it because they can have facts with it. Oh, well, that's why you're going through what you're going through. That's why this and this is happening to you. You're not this. You're not that. Satan is the father of lies. He is the accuser of the brethren. And those are accusations. You're this and you're that. And then you'll start to tell yourself those things too. Well, I can't do this and I can't do that. Man, I'll never be able to do that. You are making false accusations against yourself because God has given us everything that we need. He gave us a new identity. You're right. You can't do a lot of the things if you're working from the old man. Not while you're still in bondage to many things. Not while you're still gossiping and telling ugly things about people, slandering them, drowning your sorrows in alcohol. You're right. I can't pull from that. I can't pull for anything from that identity. But in Christ, you can do all things. You can do it because He's with you. I can't, but God can. That's the whole purpose of the atmosphere. Building your atmosphere requires all of these things. And that's why Satan is going to attack you with your minds, with sending a messenger, his own messengers, his own false evidence. He's going to make you repeat and meditate on his word instead of God's word. You got to pick a will. Pick a will, and that's the will you're going to be surrendered to. Amen.
Okay, Nikki. So I am going to respond to your last voice memo. Something that was coming to my mind when I was listening to it was just this example, this image of what that actually looks like when someone listens to and comes into agreement with the wrong voice box. So much so that they forget who they are. So I am thinking of a little while back when I was reading through the story of David. And I was also thinking about the Lion King for some reason. That one came to mind for me. So I hope I have his name right. It's like Mephibosheth. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Anyways, he is the son of Jonathan. And Jonathan's the son of King Saul, right? And then we have Simba. Simba is the son of Mufasa, right? So they both kind of have this similar story. They're both princes, and they were both born into an atmosphere of royalty. They have royal blood, and they have strength and victory and courage in their royal lineage pumping through their veins, right? They belonged to greatness. And I can't see his name. I'm going to suck at this. Mephibosheths? That's a tongue twister. Mephibosheths. I think I got it right. So his grandfather, again, was King Saul. His father was Prince Jonathan, probably two of the greatest warriors in Israel. And Jonathan, we know, was one of David's closest friends. And of course, Simba, his father was Mufasa, right? So we know who they are, right? We know who they are. The enemy knew who they were. But they, for a moment, forgot who they were. In a moment where everything changed, they both were pushed out of their inheritance and into the land of the forgotten. And they listened to voices in that place that destroyed their identity and their inheritance. And through repetition and time, soon enough, they just accepted that they were not that, and they forgot who they were. They heard it so long, a lie about who they were. They had forgotten that they came from courage, strength, power. And they forgot who they were because they were in places that kept teaching them who they weren't. And I want to bring this up because this is so important. I think all of us can probably relate to this. They started to blend into their environment. They started to become their environment. They started to become the people around them that were either in agreement with what they believed about themselves, or they were part of the problem in planting those seeds in them that took root, that were a lie of who they were. But then, here's the good part of the story. A voice box came along to both of them and reminded them of who they were. Simba, he had to get confronted with Rafiki, right? And he had to look into the water, and he saw his father's image reflecting back at him. For Mephibosheth, David had to roll into Lodabar with the authority of Jerusalem backing him to remind him who he was. And both of them, even though they were being reminded, that negative seed and that voice box had gotten so rooted that they still wondered who they were. Who am I? They said, who am I? They still didn't know. They saw themselves so low because of the voice boxes, because the environment, because what they were around for so long. But I want to remind you that that did not change the fact of who they were. It did not change that royal blood ran through their veins. It did not change the history of where they had come from and who they had come from. So the truth of who they were, despite what the enemy had made them believe, could not be destroyed that easily. They still were who they were, and it took somebody to recognize them before they could reignite themselves and reinvent themselves and remember who they were. And so David told Mephibosheth, he told him, do not fear. I will restore to you all that belongs to you, and you will eat at my table like one of my own. And Rafiki said to Simba, to find it, you must look beyond what you see. He lives in you. And here is what I'm trying to get to. God sent his own son to do the same for us, to come and find us when we have gotten lost in the land of the forgotten. When we have forgotten the truth of who we are, he sent him to restore our identity. We may live in a broken world, surrounded by a negative voice box everywhere you look, lying voices, but that is not who you are. Jesus Christ calls out to us in these dead places, in these forgotten places. He calls us by our name. He knows who we are, just like Rafiki and Jonathan knew who they were. Christ knows who we are, but we have to focus on his voice, and he will restore us. We have to put the blinders on. We have to lock in. We have to drown out these other voices, and we have to focus on his voice. And it reminds me of another story. There's this story, and I cannot remember the guy's name. Let me pause here and look it up in case you want to listen to it. I would actually suggest you hit pause on this and go look up this story, because he's going to say it so much better than I ever could. It's so good. It is worth going to look up. Okay, so it is John Maxwell Plain story. And this man tells a story about how he was in Alaska, and him and his lawyer friend, they were both lawyers, they were set to go home on a commercial airline, I would assume. And they had their tickets bought and everything. And then this guy convinced them to come with him in his private plane, save themselves some money, and he would fly them home. And against his better judgment, he got in the plane. And as soon as they got in the clouds, the pilot said, I can't fly well in clouds. And sorry, if you did go look this up, just kind of skim through this part. I'm just going to say it for those who don't want to go look it up. And so anyways, what happens is the pilot passes out in the clouds and this guy has to land the plane. And he's lucky enough that he finds someone up in the air who directs him to an emergency system that can direct him on how to land the plane and how to find the runway and how to save himself and his friend and this passed out pilot. And he does. He lands the plane. But the moral of the story is there is somebody out there. His name is God, Father, Jesus Christ, who knows how to do this, who knows how to get us through this world safely, to get us home safely, to get us through this rough spot safely. And if we do not lock in to that voice, if we start listening to other voices, we are going to probably crash and burn. We have to be so careful about what voice we're letting in, and we have to trust that voice, and we have to let it be the only voice. Now others can speak God's voice to us, that are in touch, that are in their word, that are on the same path, that know the way because they are locked in with God. But we have to be so careful. And we have to follow that voice. It's going to lead us safely home through this spot. And if we start listening to all the other voices, we're going to get way off course. So I just want to leave that with you here, that it is so important that we know who our God is, that we know who we are through God, that we know what he says about us and that we listen to that and we don't listen to the other voices, and that we know that we have authority over this stuff. We don't have to just sit and take it. The only way it has power over us is if we forget who we are, we forget our royalty, we forget our Father, and we let everything outside of us get inside and convince us of something that we're not. If we come into agreement with it, and we just cower down and we back away and we run away from our God-given assignment and our authority and our power and our territory. If we just start to shrink and we let all of that tell us who we are, we're going to get just what we get. It is time to lock in. It is time to step up. It is time to get in your word and know who your Father is and know who you are and stand on that. No more messing around. Time is running out, people. I'm sorry. I'm going to sound a little preachy here. But ever since my Lydia passed away, I don't know why, I have felt the strongest feeling like, get it together. Get it together, because I'm not joking around. I'm not playing around anymore. The end is near. I know I'm going to sound a little crazy, but there's no more time to mess around. You got to know who you are. You got to know what belongs to you. You are here to help bring God's kingdom to this earth. It's time. We can't be messing around anymore. So this is just like a wake-up call. You gotta know who you are. You gotta be careful about what you're coming into agreement with. You gotta be careful about the words you're speaking out into the atmosphere, especially about yourself and your destiny. You gotta know the lies from the truth. You gotta be careful about what you're listening to, what you're allowing in. And you know what? If you have to fake it till you make it, do it. Do it. If you're shaking in your boots, but you're stepping out into who you are and you're taking authority over it, do it. But no more messing around. You know what? Like, I have to tell myself that all the time. I'm going through an extremely hard season. I don't show it on here. I try to hold it together for everybody else. I try to just bring the positive here. But like the last few days have been hard. I've been just a crying mess. It's been hard. I miss my girls so much. And sometimes I just feel like I'm not cut out for this. This is too much. And I have to just be like, no, the enemy is going to try to get to you. You have to be so aware. I have to just be like, no, I'm not going to take that BS. I'm not. I have a purpose here. I have stuff to do within this trial. I have people who are counting on me to have it together so that they don't fall in their own trial. I have a testimony to share of how I got through this. So I got to keep stepping, and I cannot allow those words to be repeated out of my mouth. I cannot allow it to circle in my head. Hell no. No. I don't care how hard it is. When the pressure's on, that is when you are built. That is when you are strengthened. That is when you find out who you really are. When you remember who you are. You can do this. You are not weak. We are not a weak people. We are sons and daughters of the Most High, and we need to act like it. No matter what's going on, there is no army that is going to conquer us. We got to put our money where our mouth is. I'm sorry, but I don't care how hard the enemy is pushing. I'm not giving in. I don't care. And I hope that you get a little fire under your butt too. And when those thoughts come and those voice boxes come, you are in your word deep enough. You are close enough to God that you can call BS on him. And you can not let that become your identity, because it's not who you are. It's a lie. And we got to stay strong, because you know what? Together, we got to get through this. We are sisters or brothers in Christ. If you're a brother listening to this, we got to stay strong for each other. We're the body of Christ. If one of us is weak, we're all weak. If one of us is strong, we're all strong. Okay. That was a little fiery. All right, I'm going to go. Nikki, I'm going to give this to you.
Wow, amen. I love that. As I was listening to that, Sandy didn't know that I was coming back from this private group chat that we have with another friend where we uplift each other and share scripture and just try to encourage one another. And I went on a total tangent of how much Sandra has been inspiring me. And when I'm going through something, I think to myself, no, this girl keeps pushing herself. She will not falter. She will not bow down to anything or any past patterns trying to come back. She won't do it. I've seen her go through health issues through this, the grieving that she's going through, people attacking her, talking down on her, people making false accusations about all of this within the month of December, from the moment her daughter passed away all the way till now. All these crazy things being said, judgment, or just a heaviness, burdensome, like all kinds of things. And her body is going through it. Like, she's grieving. It's a very delicate time right now. And she has felt days where she don't feel good. She doesn't like to speak on it because she doesn't want it to be her focus. But what I've noticed is that her foundation has been changed, and it is Christ. And that's where her feet are planted. And that's why when things come at her, she's not faltering. She's not falling. Even on the times where it's piling up on her, it's like every day something was happening, every day. She learned something about her daughter's death, or something came against her, or she's not even feeling maybe the support that she needs sometimes. Health issues. And I mean, I can go on and on. I don't want to expose all her business because, but I know some of the things because she's very, very private. But I do see that from her day to day. It is not easy. It is not. And this girl refuses to focus on it. And then if she sees that she is kind of like, well, wait a minute. And she's like, no. Like, she talks herself out of it. She's like, no. Something that I'm learning about Paul in the New Testament is he's saying, you have to renew your mind. You have to cast down imaginations. You have to work from the new man. All of this, he's saying, to be transformed from it. This is the place that you're working from. It's not the place that you're trying to work for. You are working from it, not working for it, but working from it, your identity. And when the old man tries to come up and take its position, she knocks it back down. She won't let the old man, the old thoughts, the old sorrow, she won't let herself stay drowning in a certain situation, even though she has harder days than others, even though there's some days where more stuff piles up on her. I was saying, it's like we're in a dark room and Sandy comes in all bright, all lit up, because the word says we need to be the light in a dark world. We're the salt. And you can't help but to look at that brightness like, what is that? You're drawn to it. And I find myself lately, when I want to make excuses for my life, I know what she's going through. Her and another friend of mine who is battling cancer. She just got her bone marrow transplant not long ago. So she was going through it where her numbers went really low, and she finally got her numbers up, and she shared some testimony of it where her numbers spiked up quicker than anybody's they've ever seen. That's, in 20 years at a pharmacist, and some people work there, I've never seen anybody leave on the 14th day. It's always, 25th day to the 30th. And God has just been with her because she doesn't care how bad it feels going through what she's going through. She always remembers, but He is my God. And she wrote something on her Facebook status. She said, a lot of people are mad and have something to say about the halftime show with Bad Bunny. And she said, that's your complaint. You woke up thinking about that on your mind. That was something bothering you, something going on so much that it deserved for you to vent about it for 2 to 3 days. Meanwhile, while you were watching that halftime show, you were surrounded by your family and by great food and just great company. While I'm hours and hours away in a different city, away from my family, sitting alone in a hospital bed, fighting for my life. And you woke up complaining about a halftime show that you didn't pay for to see. You sat in front of the TV to watch it. It wasn't the whole football game. It was a halftime show, and it literally was a conversation and topic, and she just couldn't relate. She was like, I can't relate. There are bigger things to worry about. And then seeing this testimony happen after that, I'm just amazed by the people I'm surrounded by. So when I am sitting here, but I can't but I'm this. I'm like, girl, snap out of it. Snap out of it. You're going to have that weak, victim, sad, woe is me, spiritual begging type of mentality. And that's why I stay with the mindset that I stay with. You have to make a choice. And I'm like, this is why I'm working on my foundation. Although I have been working on my foundation and I have been reading, I still see that there's a sharpening that needs to happen. So I'm very thankful for you, Sandy, that you share your testimony during the hardest time, once again in your life that you're having to go through. I got to see how it was handled the first time, and here we are the second time. And I see this totally different person. It is not the same Sandra. I am not talking to that Sandra anymore. I am talking to something else that is the identity of Christ. You're pulling from that. He is living inside of you, and you are being led by Him. I see it. I see it. The words aren't the same. Your actions aren't the same. It's not you. And it's an honor. It's a privilege to be able to see something so beautiful that God can do while you're in the pit. And I'm seeing it. I'm witnessing it. This isn't just talk. And she's not just out here making a podcast just to get, recognition. That could be the last thing on her mind. It has nothing to do with that. God told her to share her story, and she's going to share it. And you're seeing her healing in real time. You're seeing my healing in real time. We are two people, like I said, in the pit, just being there for one another, loving each other, stepping in the gap. We decided to share our conversations and what we're learning through this. This is stuff that, even though we've been reading the Bible, these conversations are fresh. They're new revelations. They're new learnings that we're going through. And if we don't have it all together, if we're not providing scripture for every little thing, you're seeing relationship. We're not out here trying to teach and be, and this is how you do. Oh, yeah, God will show us sometimes. And we're talking about the revelation He's giving us. But this was never meant to be a sermon. You're seeing our testimony in real time. You're seeing us learning and figuring out, this is what's happening. This is the tactic. Oh, man. And God showed me this. And sometimes God will put a thought in my mind and I'll start to pray, and He'll tell me, pray for Sandy right now. And I will literally pray for her, and it'll be for good reason. It'll be something coming against her. So all this to say, guys, I know I went on a whole thing. I'm I'm honored. I'm proud of my friend for loving God as much as she does and trusting him and having this powerful faith that I'm like, I want that. It's possible because we come from the same pit as far as the health and other mental issues with contemplating, rehearsing, things in our head that kept us imprisoned with anxiety, agoraphobia, certain issues. Like, we come from the same place in that sense. And she is like, I'm not staying here. There's no way this is going to rule my life. I'm not staying here. And it inspires me. It encourages me. So thank you, Sandy. I know this isn't really responding to anything that you had to say. It's just me. I feel it in me to love on you right now, to tell you you are doing an amazing, good job. And I'm so sorry that it took this pain and that you're having to go through this type of pain while so much is being revealed to you. But I will say that I am so thankful that you chose to fight for what God is trying to teach you, and it meaning so much to you to share it with everybody else, because a lot of people do this in private, and you decided, I'm going to share. You're going to see my tears. You're going to hear my hurt sometimes, but you're going to hear my determination more than anything. You are going to hear my love for Christ more than anything, because although the bad feelings are real, and although the bad days and harder days do happen, you only see Christ in it. You never even know. You never even know how bad it is. And it's because she's working from that place. She won't allow herself to stay there. She won't allow herself to wallow in it. It's not saying that she doesn't go through it. She doesn't let herself stay in it. She is no longer in the victimhood. She's in a whole different neighborhood. Girl, praise God. And I'm very proud of you. And I love you.
Hello. It is the next day. I'm out here on my walk again. I wanted to respond first to what you were saying, Nikki, in your last one, and then I'm going to lead into one of the sections that I took from our previous conversation that I was talking about. Might be all over the place, and it's from Nikki, and it was really good. It might repeat in a few spots because Nikki was talking about voice box again, and I don't know if we knew if we were going to publish that one or not, so you might have repeated yourself, but I don't think so. But anyway, I want to respond to the part where you were talking about how your friend just felt like the halftime show and people complaining about it was just irrelevant. Like, she couldn't relate to it anymore, and I felt that one deeply. Going through my daughter Jade's cancer battle, and then her passing, and then what I'm going through now, just solidified it even more. But one thing that this trial has gifted me is it's really put into perspective what really counts and what's really worth our energy and our time. And it has just been so good about just wiping the table clean from all the crap that doesn't matter. And as hard as this is to go through, or as hard as I'm sure your friend's cancer battle is to go through, I mean, I haven't been through it personally, but I have been the caretaker of two people who went through it, and I saw from a secondhand perspective what they go through. 3 people, actually, 2 more intimately. And it really just, I heard Jade say on Facebook, I read, I probably could go find the post. She was like, I hope everybody gets this gift. I wish you could get the gift without pain involved, but sometimes that's not possible. But I wish that everybody could see life the way that I'm able to see it now. It's so beautiful. And she just had this beautiful way that I can't repeat right now unless I went and found it, of explaining what a gift this can be to go through really hard things, because you don't have to spend the rest of your life wasting your time being so rooted in the world and so tossed and turned and directed and influenced by the worldly way that you actually get the gift of knowing why you're here, tapping into your purpose, living that while you have time every single day, not wasting time on the crap that doesn't matter. And like, what a gift. And I think sometimes in these trials, we get so focused on the pain that we can become blinded to the part of it that is a gift. Sometimes we can't learn these things, unfortunately, any other way. Jade's right. Sometimes the pain is a messenger of how to truly live well, unfortunately. And I remember seeing a post on Facebook when Jade was in the middle of her cancer battle. And no offense to anybody, I get it, I've been there. This isn't me judging, it's just me realizing in a moment, putting things into perspective. So there was this mom complaining about how messy her daughter's room was. And it was funny, like it was, just for fun. And I remember thinking, what a gift that your daughter is home to make a mess in her room, that you have to clean up, or that you have to make her clean up. Because my daughter's sitting in a hospital facing possibly death. She's not home to make a mess. She's not home to sit and change a bunch of clothes and worry about the boys she's going to see at school and looking cute. She doesn't have a hairbrush and all of her hair accessories spread out all over her vanity, overflowing because she doesn't have hair. I don't have the time to sit and gripe at her about how messy her room is because I'm too worried about making sure she gets her meds. Making sure she gets to the ER when her fever gets too high. Making sure she's comfortable on her deathbed. Those are the things that I gotta worry about. And I remember in that moment thinking, I'm never gonna be the same. I can't even relate to normal people anymore. And it's sad. Like, not only have I lost my girls, I have lost the ability to relate to petty shit. And it sucks sometimes. Sometimes it gets heavy and overwhelming having to live in a world so deeply sensitive to the meaning of life and how short our time is and how precious our loved ones are and focusing on the really important things. Sometimes I feel like, God, I need to just have some fun. And then there's a whole thing that comes with fun. Then you feel guilty because you're the one who survived. And you're out here laughing while they're dead in the ground. And I know that's like a really morbid, depressing way to think about it. And it's really important that we capture those thoughts and trade them out for more positive ones. But it's so true. I can relate to her. And sometimes I feel like an outsider to this world. And sometimes people look at me all wonky because I have given my whole life to Christ and I'm obsessed with Him. And they say I've changed and I'm different and they don't want to be my friend. And I've lost so many friends because I just can't relate to them anymore. And sometimes I feel so alone. But I'm also so grateful that before my time ran out, I got to see what really matters. And that my relationship with God is the most important thing. And it's the most important thing for all of us because we come naked and we go naked. And I'm not meaning that in like a provocative way or anything like that. Like literally, we don't take anything with us. We come with nothing. We don't take anything with us. And the only thing that we have when we go is how we lived and how we loved and our relationship with our Creator and our belief that life goes on. And sometimes when our loved ones pass away, that's all we have. We have their little tokens of, hey, I was here, the physical, material things. But the most precious thing that I hang on to is that my girls are out there alive because of Christ, and that they will live again, and that we're still connected, and we still have something together because of Jesus Christ. And yeah, things like this just really put things into perspective. And I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer or be too serious or go too deep, but I don't know. That's just something that I was thinking about, Nikki, when you were saying that. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else before I lead into this other clip of yours that's the voice box. Yeah, the other thing, I just wanted to say, like, you were talking about empowering thoughts and mindset. And I've gotten to that place too. And I still think about how to answer your question, that place of lamenting and speaking to that. And, how did you come from being so angry at God and so bitter and so negative and just so down on life to where you just walk into the room and it's like people notice you because they notice the Christ in you, because the light of Christ is shining through. And I still struggle to answer that because I don't know how. And I'm going to leave the clip of how I tried to answer it, which I didn't do a good job of it. But I'm going to leave a clip of that on the end of Nikki's next voice box memo. But I do know one thing. I had to get to a point where I was like, I have two choices. I can either be negative, and I can go through this surrounded by negative voice boxes and let those get into me. I can choose a negative perspective, like choosing clothes in the morning out of the closet. I can choose negative thoughts. I can choose to dwell on negative thoughts. I can't always control the ones that come in my mind. But I can surely choose to sit and talk about them and think about them and engage in conversation with Nikki about all these negative things and negative perspectives. And I think that's one reason I'm so attracted to Christ now and why he's become my everything, because it just makes sense. After everything I've been through, it just makes sense. It all comes down to that. Like, this is a really empowered way to be. You're no longer a victim. You're a victor. Christ won the victory for you. How dare you hang your head low when your Father is the God of the universe and you're royalty? And no matter how dirty you are and all the sins that you've made, he accepts you. He adopts you into his family if you just give your life to him. He'll take it. His plans are to prosper us. And I had to come to a point where I was like, I might not have a lot of choice around this. I don't get to choose that my girl died one day before her 16th birthday. I don't get to choose that. Trying to choose that made me go crazy. Trying to control that. I know I'm repeating myself because I've talked about this before, but I get to choose how I go through this. I might have to go through it, but I get to choose how I go through it. And Nikki's right. We have to be very intentional about where we plant ourselves, what we put around us. And if we have any control at all over the situation we're in, it should be to make our environment as positive as possible, not in a toxic way. I still have to acknowledge I've had a hard week. I've cried every day this week for my girls. I've done some hard things. I've had to go visit the grave of my 12-year-old daughter. I've had to pick out a headstone for her when I should be picking out cute little jewelry at the teenage store. I have to go through this. We have to go through. Sometimes there's no way around the mountain or the giant. God's calling us to go through it with him. But why make a hard journey even harder? That's my question. Why? It doesn't make sense. You start digging that hole and you dig and dig and dig, and finally you get to the rock bottom and you're just like, this is pointless. You have to hit that point. Nikki wanted to know what I'm thinking every day. I'm thinking, this is horrible. And then I have to come right back and say, shut the up. To the old man, to the negative mindset, to that negative spirit that wants to paint this situation bad. And if I just let it go on auto mode, it will. Nikki, I love every kind word you said about me. You are so sweet, but I am nothing without Christ. I am that old wretched person you talked about. What you see is Christ moving through me. What you see is me pouring into Christ, relying on him 100% to carry me through this because I suck. Those thoughts are there. They don't stop just because I want them to stop. I have to intentionally renew my mind with Christ. I have to intentionally take every thought captive, every image captive, every perspective. I have to be so in my Bible every day because my life depends on it. I've seen stuff like this take people out. They can't go on living. This is not light stuff. I've seen a lot of people who can't go on through some of the stuff that people are going through who come to listen to this podcast. I've seen it with my own eyes. This isn't a podcast for light, easy things, breezy things. This is for the dark stuff. This is for the mountain that you don't think you can climb, that you can't, you've tried. This is for the impossible giant that you've got to go slay. I am bombarded by the negativity. It's all around me. It's in the world, all around me, everywhere you look. You can try to block it out, but it's there. You got to know how to go to war with these things. That is why I cherish Christ, and I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't care if I got to be alone. I don't care if I'm so removed from reality because of everything that's happened to me, and I'm so narrowed in on Christ because he's getting me through this, because he's the one thing getting me through this. Like, I got to put on my spiritual armor every single day. I am no champ. I am not anyone to admire. Christ is the one to admire. And I don't really know where I was going with that, but I guess I'll just sum it up by you have a choice. You do have a choice. If you don't think you have a choice, you're believing a lie. You have a choice at how you go through this. And it might not be easy to change your habits of how you think and how you respond and your perspectives and your beliefs. It is a whole freaking journey. And it's hard. It's hard. It pops up every day, and every day you got to practice something new until it finally starts to click. And just because you're getting it one day doesn't mean it's not going to come back and haunt you. The enemy's going to try to constantly attack you, especially the closer you get to Christ. And you know what? This is the way I think about it. Either way, you got to do something hard. So choose your hard. Are you going to be like me and choose a hard where you got to wake up at 5:30 every morning, sometimes earlier, and pour an hour of your time into God's word? Isn't that fun for me? I was bored as hell reading the Bible. But I did it because I know that's what I need to do. And slowly he started renewing my mind and making me want to get in the Bible. And Nikki talks about agoraphobia. I got agoraphobia when I got long COVID. I used to spend all the time out of the house. I used to teach PE for 7 periods a day. And then my after job, depends on the season. Some days I was working at the gym through the day. Sometimes I was going to the gym after my regular 9 to 5 and teaching there. I was active 24/7 basically, other than sleeping. And when I'd come home, I'd have to cook the kids dinner, or I'd have to be at the hospital. I had to do homework. I was a single mom. I didn't stop. And then all of a sudden, overnight, I can't go to the freaking mailbox without a freaking panic attack. I'm bedridden. I went from that to bedridden. And I feel so awful. I don't want to go out. And I had to just find God and be like, you said you're going to heal me. He gave me that promise. You're going to heal me. I'm going to get up out of this bed. So I'm going to take a little step no matter how hard it is. Hang on, my son's calling me. Sorry, I don't know where I was going with that. My son called me. Long COVID was like someone took a baseball bat and just knocked me in the knees. And my knees are broken, and I'm just trying to compose myself and get up and try to walk. And nobody really knew what to do with long COVID then. So I had to really just put my trust in God and try to take steps. Like, that's how I got out of the agoraphobia. I mean, I don't pretend to understand, Nikki, what you're going through. I don't pretend. It was a short-lived, compared to yours, experience. But there was a time when I felt so terrible, I didn't want to go out. I don't want to go out. It was easier just to waste away, especially since my daughter was gone. She had to come and remind me, sadly, in dreams, you still got 2 kids to live for. Mom, get it together. And with everything in me, I had to get up and walk. I had to take up my mat and walk. And it was hard. Going to the mailbox, I was having panic attacks. I would have panic attacks going to the store. It didn't even make sense. It was like COVID just came and hijacked my brain. And now all of a sudden, the world was a terrible place. And I had to fight back with everything in me, and it wasn't enough. I had to find Christ. And I don't know. I mean, I'm going off on a tangent here, but here's the thing. You can go through this negative and bitter and angry. And this is why I'm not doing it this time, because I've been there. I know where that leads. No, thank you. I don't care how bad it gets. I'm not going back to that place. I'm not going back to bedridden. I'm not going back to depressed. I'm not going back to so anxious I can't go out of the house. I'm not going back to ruminating on all the things I could have done different to save my daughter. No, it's misery. I'm not going to sit down and dine with misery. I refuse. I refuse. Instead, I'm going to take up my Bible, and this journey might be freaking hard. The enemy doesn't stop just because all of a sudden I found Christ. No, it is a daily battle, and this is why me and Nikki have each other, and this is why we have this podcast. So in case you're alone, in case you don't have a Nikki, I'll come share my Nikki with you. I said that on my Substack. I'll come share my motivation with you, because each day I got to get up and I got to motivate myself. And I got to speak life into myself, because there might not be somebody there that day to speak life into me. So I had to get really good. Here's something I did. Nikki, you want to know? I had to get really good. I had to train my mouth. I had to train my mind in the worst of circumstances. I got double whammy. I felt like I was dying. I know that sounds crazy, but that's how long COVID made me feel like I was dying. My life was over. And on top of that, my daughter had died, and I'm trying to still raise 2 kids. And I'm still trying to get my life back. A life that's gone that I can't get back. I have to find a new life, because there's no going back there. Everything crumbled down. But the moral of the story is sometimes you got to pick yourself up out of hard places. And if you got no one to pick you up, guess what? You got Jesus. And you can start there. I'm sorry. I am sorry to be brutal, but you have no excuse. I'm going to sound mean here, but this is coming from love and encouragement. If I can do it, so can you. Because you know how I know that? Because I am a mess. I am utterly broken. My heart is shattered from the loss of my 2 girls. I can't even think about my health because it's overshadowed by this huge, tragic accident. I am just a freaking mess. But if Christ can do this for me, he can do it for you. So you have no excuse. Go find the one who can save you. If you're drowning like I was, you gotta go to Christ. He is gonna lift you up out of that rock bottom, wherever you're at. And he is going to give you a new identity. He's going to give you new thoughts. He's going to give you a new perspective. And you got to meditate on that day and night. Resist the devil and he will flee. And you got to pour into yourself sometimes. You got to make sure that no matter what, you got God and you got yourself as your biggest cheerleader, because those voice boxes are going to come in. Sometimes it's your own. Sometimes it's a seed that someone planted a long time ago, and it's still growing and it's still thriving. And anytime anyone pokes at that wound, it just ruptures. And we can take those wounds to God and we can heal them. Sometimes we're just a bleeding mess. I'm just a bleeding mess. My heart is shattered. But I come out here every day. And whether I'm recording this podcast or I'm speaking life into Nikki or I'm listening to her speak life into me, or I am out here speaking declarations, affirmations, heck, I even took up visualizing. I don't even recommend anyone do that. But I had to visualize my future going well. Because if I didn't, my mind was going to go to, your life sucks. Sometimes we just have to make a choice. I'm going to live. I'm not going to die. And whatever that takes, I'm ready to do it, even if it's a baby step in that direction, because I'm out of strength. So, I don't know. There's my spiel. Now we're going to go to a completely different kind of vibe, because I'm going to tag Nikki's on the end of this. This was a prior one. And I'm going to tag mine on to the end of this, which was a prior clip from a really good conversation that we had. And yeah, there's a podcast for today. I'm going to go home. It's been a rough week. It's been a rough week. And I'm having to remind myself of these things today too. So we're in it together, sister.
I understand what you're saying, and this podcast came about our voice memos. This is just how we talk to each other. This is not staged. It's not a setup. We do not rehearse or say we're going to study the same thing. In fact, Sandra is reading the Old Testament and I am reading the New Testament. So we are on two different areas of the Bible. That's why she has been referring things to King David and things of Moses going around the same mountain. And I have been learning a lot about Paul. So the scriptures I speak about are going to be New Testament. So all of this it's not prepped whatsoever. Things that are happening in her life, sometimes I'll get a word for it before it even happens. It's happened quite a few times where I will go to her and say, whoa, this just came on my heart. Or the Lord just told me to pray this over you. And she's like, really? And then the next day, bam, she's like, oh my God. Like, it all comes together. None of it is prepped. None of it is, we don't know what the next day is going to bring. These are wholesome, raw, in-time conversations. And I think that's what, like, if you're a viewer, if you're listening and you're like, wait, what's going, we're just conversating. These are just two friends, sisters in Christ, who are helping each other through hard times. I have a friend who has lost 2 children in her life and has almost the same health crash as me. I am dealing with anxiety, agoraphobia, some of the same issues as Sandra is. We have experienced the same health crashes. We edify each other. We build each other up. We are each other's cheerleaders and motivators. We step in the gap for one another. We are just loving each other the way Christ has told us to love each other. And we decided to document it because some other people need this. Some other people have journeys that sound just like ours. And I was like, you know what? I mean, we both say this. Sometimes we'll pin each other's comments, and this is where it all came about. We'll pin it and we have to go back and listen to it on hard days. So the podcast was like, let's start recording them. Maybe somebody else, if it's edifying us this much, if it could help at least just one other person, and if it don't, we'll have them there so we can go back and listen to them. So it's not for nothing. And I want to speak on the voice boxes. I didn't always have a friend like Sandra. In fact, there's nobody I've ever known that's been able to pour into me the way Sandra does. I do have some amazing friends who, when they speak over me, I'm like, oh, okay. Or God will use them to give me a word. But as far as the way we step into the gap and we pull each other out of the water, and God gives us constant word back and forth. It's like a sharpening of iron, just back and forth. It gets deeper. We've had conversations, the ones we didn't even get to record because we weren't doing the podcast, were so deep. I didn't even know. they were so deep. And then the things that would happen after that, it was like, man, we just started to see that God is preparing us. He knows, and he's laying out things for us so that we can hold on to it, so it could be our foundation, so we won't be shooken and fall. But one of the main things that I've been learning about is voice boxes, and I just call that anybody who's getting in your ear. And that's been my number one message for Sandra, and for me too, because this is what's hurt me and hindered me in the past. Be careful with the voices you are listening to around you. Be very choosy about it. The same way when you're watching a movie and you want to relax, you know what you want to watch. You know what makes you feel good. You know what's calming. You know what's going to distract you for a bit. You make an obvious choice on what you are going to watch and listen to. You have to do that in life too. If you are on a journey and you are trying to be more positive and look at your life in a brighter way, and you're trying to break bondages, be very, very cautious on who you are allowing around in your space, because atmosphere is everything. It's everything. And no matter what it is you're doing, if you're planting a garden, atmosphere is everything. You have to know exactly where you're going to plant the garden, where it's going to get 8 hours of sun. You can't plant it right in back of the house where it gets shade, or on the side of the house where it only gets the morning sun. Only for certain flowers you can. The way you're choosy about gardening and cooking, how you're going to prep the food, how you're going to marinate it, that's the same way you have to look at your life. You can't just be around certain people. You can't just let certain people get in your head, and you can't control all of it. Some, okay, let me pluck these people out, or God will remove them. He will remove certain people. You won't understand why at the time, but later on you will. But there will be some people, just like the way the weeds grow with the grass, and you can't tell which one is a grass sprout and which one is a weed sprout. They look the same. In that moment, those two things look the same. I can't tell if you're really for me or not. Maybe you're for me in this moment, but in time, things will be revealed if you're going to stay or not. You're going to tell by the fruits that come out of the person, by the way they talk, by the way they look at you, by the way they act, by the way they support you, by the way they don't support you. You're going to either notice what they do or what they don't do for you. And it's very important. You're in a very tender moment, especially in the prepping season, in the beginning of your life. Words have power. Words frame a vision. The way you're looking for a motivational speaker, a lot of us do. A lot of us need a good word, a good sermon, a good worship song. There's a reason why we seek that. We are trying to reframe our life to find hope, to live off of faith, and faith is the substance of things hoped for. You have to put that into your body by what you listen to, what you see, what you feel, what you're around. All of that's important, right? You need that. It is edifying. It is uplifting. It changes your viewpoint. It changes the frame of things. You can be going through a hard day. You put on some worship music. You're reframing it. You've decided to reframe it, surrender it, and worship God through it. You didn't want to look at it as something crushing and ruining your day or making life harder. You decided to worship God through it. You reframed it. So when you're reframing your life, please understand that somebody could speak a word over you and reframe a situation you're going through. They can plant doubt in your head. They can make you question. They can just make you angry. Ooh, and when you're angry, how many of you know when you are angry, a lot of logic goes out the window because you start working from anger. You start working from anger, and then you just start to forget, and then that's your fuel. Just like fear. Somebody puts fear in your heart or tells you a horror story, something you don't want to know, or is just, I don't know, making you feel a place from anxiety. You will work from anxiety. You will work from fear. You will function from that. Why would you want to be around somebody who puts that in your heart or puts that in your way when you're trying to be positive? Or they tell you some gossip that they've heard. That's a number one thing. I think that's a number one thing for many of us. That's one of the things I hear the most. You're trying to forgive somebody, but ooh, I heard something. I heard something. Why do I need to hear it? Why? Why do I need to hear it? And you can tell a person, I really don't want to hear it. That's between her and God. What somebody has to say about me is none of my business. That's between her and God. Because I don't live my life thinking I have enemies. I love everybody. In their mind, I might be their enemy, but I don't have any enemies because we're all God's children. And if you're not flowing and working from that space, well, then I pray that God put somebody in your life to lead you that way. I pray that you find him in whatever journey you're in, even if it's an angry one. But it ain't none of my business to hear what you've got to say about me. If it ain't that you're going to harm me or harm my family where it needs to be reported, and it's just stupid gossip of your opinion about me, keep your opinion. But all of that, you have to be careful what you're allowing in your ear. It does something for you. You can't say you can hear it and it's not going to do anything for you. It does. Beware of your atmosphere. Beware of who you're letting in your atmosphere. Beware of the voices that you're hearing and the things that you're seeing, the things that you're watching, the things that are coming inside of your temple. Beware of it. And whenever you do cut out certain people, you'll start to notice that sometimes Satan can use other people's voice boxes, people who are really close to you. Oh man, that right there, that's the giant. That's the giant of all giants, because it's your people. This is your people. My husband was one of my hugest in the beginning, which is one of the main reasons I take full responsibility that I never left the house and decided to finally quit. But it was something he told me. It was something he told me that made me come to the conclusion that he's right. I might as well give up. I remember I came home from a big grocery store with a little bit of groceries, and I was happy. I came in with them bags and I said, man, I stayed in that store because I used to time it. I stayed in that store for 15 minutes. I got everything that was on the list, even the stuff from the back of the store. But I was high on life. And he looked at me. This is when he's atheist. And he says, okay, but then tomorrow you won't be able to do it. He's like, I always see you do this. You'll have a good day one day. The next day you can't even go to the mailbox. He was like, this really doesn't mean anything. You'll be struggling again tomorrow. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Why am I torturing myself with all this anxiety, getting in the car, praying and prepping myself to get to that parking lot, and then having to get myself to go through those doors and grabbing each ingredient and all the strength I had in me to go to the back of, like, why am I doing this if tomorrow I can't even do it? You know what? I'm never leaving again. He's right. I made an agreement with it. Now, I don't think he knew that what was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen like this either. But I made an agreement with it. And then, after I make an agreement with it, he's mad that I quit trying. It says, you gave up on us. You gave up on the family. You don't even try to leave. And I'm like, well, why should I try? You told me it doesn't work anyways. Might as well succumb to what's going to end up happening. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, stuff like that. He was never encouraging. Never. Not during those times. Not when he was an alcoholic. He wasn't even happy with his own self. How was he going to be there cheering for me? That was the only voice box I had around me at the time, though. And I should have never taken that as my truth. I just didn't know any better. I didn't have anybody. There was no podcasts back then. There was no YouTube. There was no Google. Yes, this was way back then, before all of that. My church had cut me off. Like, I had nobody. I still had God. He was the reason why I was trying to go. But because it was from my husband, the one who was the only one left, and even though he was an alcoholic, and even though he said negative things, he still loved me. He still took care of me. He was the only one at that time sticking around, being there for me. He wasn't negative 100% of the time, but most of the time. And I think he was just tired of seeing me go through it too, that he just had a negative outlook on it. The point is, I let his words be the foundation of what the next 20 years would look for me. It was that moment I gave up and I made the acceptance and the agreement with something. Be careful who you let in your ear when you are working really hard and really trying to change your life, change patterns. You will feel a resistance. You'll feel a resistance within yourself, within your body, within your emotions, within everything in your head, because you have made a change. A change is happening. There is a resistance. It's just like when we're fall going into winter. Why are there tornadoes? Because there is a change happening. Two things are happening in the climate. It's like, wait, what's going on? Hot and cold? Wait, what? And in a tornado, like sometimes destruction happens during the change. That feels like it happens to us. It feels like life gets even harder. Stuff gets messier. It doesn't feel like it gets easier. You're trying so hard to be positive. And you feel lonelier because you can't have certain people in your life because those are the negative ones and those are the ones feeding into it, or they have a lot of bad habits you're trying to get away from that are making you stay in bondage. So you're having to cut off certain circles, certain friends, certain family members. My circle's smaller. I feel lonely, but okay, I feel some peace, but I'm so lonely. I'm not used to it. The body's not used to it. The body feels that there are people missing. So now you're going through a transition of getting used to being lonely and seeking God more through it. And now you don't have so much distraction in your life. Now you got more free time. Are you going to leave that free time idle, or are you actually going to study, read, worship, praise, meditate during that time? Are you going to do what needs to be done in that free time, or are you just going to pick up your phone and start scrolling over and over and over and over again? By the time you know it, time has passed. You haven't fed yourself. You still feel empty. You look around. There's nobody around. So now you feel empty and you feel lonely. And now you're even sadder than before. And then you're wondering, well, I got rid of everybody I was supposed to, God. I'm not doing these things anymore. I'm not drinking no more. I let go of certain patterns, certain habits. I'm not in certain areas. I'm not going to the bars. But now I feel lonelier and more depressed. Oh, because you're not filling your cup. You're not reading. You're not drawing closer to God because you're just scrolling over and over on the phone, or you're watching TV, or you're stuck. Me and my husband got real into football. He used to play football, so he likes football, but we're not like football fanatics. Man, I started watching college football, NFL. I was watching Monday Night Football, Thursday, Sunday, if Saturday for college, like anything. I got addicted to football this past time. And then me and my husband started drawing closer and closer to God and watching sermons and reading the Bible and like worshiping together. And then, we would still watch football, but then we were like, well, why are we watching football? Let's watch another sermon. We started doing studies together. And then the football time started getting smaller and smaller. And we actually had to force ourselves to watch the Super Bowl. We didn't even want to watch it because we had this sermon we wanted to watch. We ended up watching some of it, mostly the end, and then we went right back to the teaching. It's like certain stuff just keeps falling off. We don't hunger for it anymore. It's like, I want God more. He wants God more. And then you know what? There's times where his old show comes on and he's like, man, I really want to watch this show. And it's a constant back and forth, like fighting with yourself. There's a resistance. There's a resistance of this and that. I'm not saying you have to drown yourself in God all day long. I am saying you have to make time for him and you have to put in the work. I'm saying at this time in our life, this is where we were at. This is where we're at right now. That everything that once took up so much of our time, God became bigger than it. And instead of saying, we'll watch the sermon after football, like we got to make sure our football time is coming and then God will fit him in after that. No, it was God first. And then, you know what? If there's time for football, then we'll watch it. And that's when I saw a major curve in our growth. And I was like, whoa, that's a new one. That is a new one. But because we put in the time and now our body is doing a switch. Man, I want more word. Man, I want more God. It took months to get here because we've been reading and everything for a while. First thing we do in the morning when we get up is read the Bible. And then I do my study and then we go on the day. That's actually changing my life. It's making me want him more. It's changing what I want to be around and who I want to be around. There's certain people reaching out to me in this time, and I'm like, no, I know where this leads. I know what conversations that goes in. I don't want to gossip all day. I don't want those voice boxes in my atmosphere, in my environment. I have choices to make. We are in charge of reframing our life. And I'm sorry I'm going off on a whole tangent, but all of that just to say, you're in charge of what happens in your life. You're in charge of what you allow and what you don't allow. Quit making excuses. Well, I got this. No. Because if you wanted to, you'd get up an hour early just to make time for the Bible. That's what I had to do. I get up 2 hours early to get my reading in, and then the study takes another hour. The reading takes about 10 to 15 minutes because I do a chapter a day, and I'll reread it if I'm not understanding it. And then the study takes about an hour. So I got to get up an hour and something earlier so that I can start cooking and have my husband's lunch here. If you want to do something, you will do it. If somebody offered you a job where you were going to get paid a lot of money, more money than you've ever gotten paid, but they said, man, but you got to be here at 6 in the morning. And you're not used to that because you're a type of person who gets up at 9 or 10. You will find a way to get up at 6 in the morning because you know that the goal of that is going to be more money than you've ever seen or ever made. And for you, it's worth the sacrifice. That is the same thing with God. If you want to change your life and if you really want to see a better relationship with him, a closer relationship with him where you really want to get to know him and it's worth it to you, you will get up and you will find a way to give him an extra hour of your time to start your whole day with him. You will do it if you really want it. If you see that it's worth it to you. The same way money would be worth it to you is the same way God should be worth it, and even more. Even more. We got to quit with these excuses that we just don't have enough time or I just can't understand it. Well, you know what? Keep reading it till you understand it. Keep reading it until you understand it. And if you can't read, listen to Audible. It's not the same as reading, but I went blind one time and guess what? I had Audible. There is no excuse that you cannot get a chapter in a day. There is none other than your laziness or you just don't have the determination to really want to get to know him. You got to quit playing with yourself. And I'm not trying to discredit or put anybody down. I'm trying to say we need to own up to these excuses. We need to own up to the type of life that we want. I'm saying this not to hurt you or put you down. I'm saying this to encourage you and let you know that where there's a will, there is a way, and you will find a way. And I want this for you. I want this for me. I want the change. And the only way you're going to get there is if you put in the time. If you put in the time and the effort, man, maybe something, a turnaround, just to feel closer to him, to get to know him in a different way. Even if I don't get everything I ever prayed for, at least I have this beautiful relationship that we've grown into. I know that you're here, God. I can feel you. You're talking to me. You're letting us know things before they happen because I can hear you now, because I have trained my ear to listen to you. Why? Because I have put in the time and the effort to get to know you, to get to know your word, and to listen to you, to hear, God, while I'm reading this word, what is it you want me to hear and receive? Lord, help me to understand everything that I am taking. Help me not to add or take anything away, but to receive it and to help it prosper me in life. And he will. And I'm seeing it. And I want more. And I want more and more and more and more. And I told God, and even if I don't ever get this and I don't ever get that, I will always have you. I will always have you. And this relationship is far greater than anything I've ever prayed for and asked for of you. If I just have you, then it was worth it. That's the place you have to get at. But with all these voice boxes in your head trying to distract you and tell you this and have gossip, and did you hear so-and-so said this about you? Or did you hear so-and-so is doing that? And you're filling yourself with all this nonsense and this ugly talk about people you should be praying for, then that's what you're going to be full of. And that's the type of heart you're creating in your own self. And you only have your own self to blame because you sat there, you listened to it, you joined in, or you became in agreement with on how you thought of somebody. Now you're judging them. Be careful with the voice boxes you are letting in your life. They are there to distract you. They are there to curve you into another way. Sometimes they tear you down. Sometimes you make agreements with things you shouldn't be agreeing with. It can ruin your life. It can put you in a setback. It can fuel the wrong things. Put yourself with people who motivate you, believe in you, step in the gap, pray for you, worship with you, worship for you, pray over you, always build you up, want to make you see the brighter things in life instead of the negative, always letting you focus on no matter what it is you're going through. There's always a good focus for you to look at, the goodness that came out of it. There's always something good in a day. Let's focus on that. Your atmosphere is everything. It fuels you. It feeds you. It nourishes you. You work from it. It becomes you. You are what you eat. You are what you eat. You are your environment. Because you become accustomed to it. You accept things. Well, why not let it be more positive? See what that'll do for you. There will be a resistance. But as long as you continue feeding yourself and edifying yourself, it won't feel that hard as you go through it. You will start going through it and you will grow strength and muscle through it. Amen.